G'day guys, welcome back to Supercoach Swordplay. Today I'm going to take you through my January team update. Super pumped to do this. The first team update for 2025, number 3 in total, but there have been a few changes here and there. We know that the Professor Janath Fernando just put his team reveal out. I'm not going to go for 2 hours and go into as much detail as my man did, but I'll go through the side, talk about why I've selected certain players, go through a few on the watch list as well, but hopefully I can show you what my brain's thinking like at the moment anyway. Now, before I get into it, please give me just a couple of minutes of your time for some quick housekeeping. The first thing is, if you haven't already heard by now, we do have the 2025 Supercoach Swordplay season guide available for pre-order. I have done a separate video on this, plenty of tweets as well. We go through the contents, exactly what you receive, but if you are interested, it's $20. You can pre-order it on supercoachswordplay.com, and we almost guarantee you that this will be your best Supercoach resource for the year in 2025. If you are interested, check out the video. I'll put the link down below, and we'll go through everything that will be included there. So thank you very much to everyone that has already pre-ordered a season copy, 80 to date, and it's not officially up for sale and available. So thank you very much for the support. Really appreciate that. You can see the border or the banner around here. These are all the legendary content creators that have actually helped to produce this guide. So the best of the best. Thank you very much, guys. The next thing is my open league. So when I say it's the Swordplay Cruise Open League. You can see the code there, 503052. So be sure to join up that. Unlimited entries, and there will be some prizes there as well. The second thing is a big shout out to all of our new members. You can see Jack here. You can absolute legend. I won't talk all about Jack. He's an absolute legend of a fella, a big support to many content creators, but he's one of our new members that's just signed up. You can see what you get here with a membership. You can click the join button. I think you need to be on a PC. I don't know if you can do it on your mobile or phone. I'm not 100% sure on that, but click the join button, then you'll be able to see exactly what you get. But what we've introduced this year is the Google Drive. So this will include all your stock market slides every week, every stock market, every Swordplay slide, team review slides, preseason news. We update that basically daily about what's going on for each team in the preseason. Video chat links. As a member, we have regular video chats. We can share our sides, have discussions, ask each other advice. Just a fantastic community there. You get exclusive articles. You get to see every one of my draft teams in the preseason. I've got about 30 up there, 30 images at the moment. Lots of exclusive content, as is rate your teams, plus more. One thing you do get is free entry into the 2025 Prison League. If you're not familiar with this, I will do a video in the next couple of days. This is open to the public as well, but I've got a great reception from it the last couple of years. Plenty of details on that one to come. I won't bore you now because, as I said, I'll do a separate video on that. We also have the $100 Open Charity Cash League. A great response again to this last year. Prizes in the thousands. Lots of the money goes towards a good cause as well. So the ultimate league for you. Again, more info on that. And yeah, again, just lastly, a shout out to all the great creators that I've teamed up with already in the preseason. People come onto my channel. Then I've joined people like The Pig. Who else? There's been Insider, the boys from the official Supercoach podcast as well. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to have collaborated with so many great people. So just want to give a big shout out to that. I've had a fair bit going on. I don't make any of this public, but I've got a fair bit going on in regards to, I suppose, family matters at the moment. And I've been getting some lovely feedbacks, and you know who you are, some lovely messages coming through. And this just means the absolute world to me, the lovely feedback that we've been getting, and me personally in particular. So thank you very much for all of the support, guys. So that's the housekeeping out of the way. I promised I'd keep it as short as possible. Time to see what the team is currently looking like. Again, very fluid movement with this side, but I do have my watch list. I've got the blokes that are absolute locks. Those mid prices, and I'm a little bit iffy about that being going in and out. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with the side and really, really excited to share it with you. So without further ado, let's get into it. Here is the current side for January 2025. Alrighty, here we are. So I think that I'll start off in defense. There's so much to dissect and unpack with the team, a lot of moving pieces. The rookies, they're very fluent. We know at the end of the day, I say this a lot, that rookies tend to dictate the majority of our structure. So a lot can change, we know, but you will notice some new faces here, some very familiar faces that just have not left my team throughout the whole preseason. We'll go through some buy structure because I think that's really important to take into account. And we'll go through those players that are absolute locks, those 50-50 type players, as well as some players that I see more as placeholders just for now. And they're going to give me options to move a few pieces moving forward, Max Scorn being the perfect example of that. But we'll start off down back. Now, unlike Janath, I'm not going to go through every number and go into great detail and do a 2-hour video here. I'm going to go through a little bit quicker because we will go through every team in the preseason. Already had, I'll tell you what, 2 superstars on. Matty Lyons from Inside the Kennel. He went through all the Dogs prospects. You'll notice there's an absolute pod here in my side who I'm really excited about. We also had Big J on for the North Melbourne preview, and we will be having a number of guests on as well for the remaining 16 teams. So we'll go through a lot of the numbers here and really go into great detail. With this video, I'll give you a bit of the base or a few of the reasons why I've selected them or I've currently got them in my side, but I'm not going to give you every number possible and go into too much depth. So we will start off in defense. And another thing we need to keep in mind as well, as I said, so much to talk about, is premiums versus keepers, because a mid-price option can actually be a keeper in our side. It's all about your judgments, your projections and predictions, but I'll go through what mine are anyway. So we'll start off in defense. Now, the structure I'm currently going with is the 3 premium picks, the 1 mid-pricer, and then the 4 rookies, obviously 2 on field. Sheasel, Sinclair, and Clark. Sheasel, I think, is just an absolute lock, a really easy selection wherever he plays, whether or not that's down back in the midfield or stints up forward. I think he's going to score really well. So not a lot of discussion needed. He's been one of those players that just has not left my side all preseason. Jack Sinclair is actually another one of those players that hasn't left my side, but I'm getting, I won't say cold feet, but my confidence is wavering slightly with the pick. We know that Mateus has gone down. We've now had to move that piece around, very popular player. But does this mean that Jack Sinclair now plays a little bit more time in the midfield to cover some of those minutes? I'm not too sure. He's one of those rare players where we actually prefer him out of the midfield and playing down back as that attacking, rebounding defender, taking kick-ins. So I still like him. I love his buy, but I'm not as confident, and he could potentially move. Who knows? Jordan Clark is another player who I think presents a little bit of value, has a little bit of upside, and again, similar to Sinclair, has a fantastic buy. Now, he hasn't got absolute premium proven history. Last year was a real breakout year for Jordan Clark, but I think if you look at the Freo system, and again, I'm not all over how they're going to be playing this year, but I think he's someone that benefits from that. A real attacking type player, really coming into his prime as well. Luke Ryan's the main competition down there, but again, they do play slightly different roles. So I do like Jordan Clark, but again, still a bit of a moving piece. Callum Mills is a bloke that I've been off, I've been on, but recent reports suggest that he's playing a lot of midfield time at the moment. And we know what that's like for Callum Mills. Historically, he can smash it out of the park average-wise. So when we talk about keepers versus premiums, we obviously don't count him as a premium at the moment. We count the top 3 as premiums, but best case scenario, a midfield Callum Mills can absolutely be a keeper. Am I planning for him to be a keeper? No, not at this stage, because I think that's a little bit too dangerous. I'm still going to count him as a stepping stone for now with that potential bonus. I think worst case scenario, he'll just hover around the price. So I think that he's, again, one of those safer options with a huge amount of upside and not a lot of downside. Now, the 4 rookies here, again, a little bit fluent. Draglia on field. So recently been playing with the A team. Lots of Saints supporters really keen on him. I wasn't as keen, say, 2-3 weeks ago, but now I'm pretty confident that he'll line up in their round 1 side. Caleb Smith is a bloke from Richmond, young player that may potentially look to feel part of that Rioli spot, I suppose, or role. We think that Jaden Short's really going to be the man to step up here, but there is a spot down back, and Smith is one of the players that's putting his hand up. We know what that role's like, particularly for struggling sides. Bit of ball will be down there. Now, Patton recently has been getting some decent reports coming out of Sydney. Originally, I had Riley Bice here, but I've now flipped this to Benny Patton because from what I've been hearing anyway, and things can change very much, I think that he might actually be in front. Now, just because he's in front of Bice, that doesn't mean he's going to maintain a regular best 22/23 spot in the side, but I really do like that defensive forward status. I think that's super handy when you do need to make changes. It adds a lot of flexibility to your side. There's no one else at the moment that I'm really keen on with that DPP status, but we know that during the year, that's a pretty popular one for players to actually get. So I'm going with Patton at the moment, and being that high price over someone like a Sada Howie, who I'm not as keen on at the moment. I don't think he's the automatic lock that lots of other coaches view him as. So I'm paying a little bit more for Patton at the moment, but it's always nice to know that I can go down to even a Bussingler type if he ends up getting a spot. And James Leake's the other player. He's been getting some midfield minutes, and he's really been impressing as well. So we know that Peatling was the sub for, I don't know how many games off the top of my head, but a really popular sub option for the Giants last year. Could he be someone that fills that spot? It's not great that he could potentially be a regular sub, but this pick potentially also plays into my buy structure, I suppose, and strategy. You'll notice that I'm not actually running with a loop at this stage, and every year I run with a loop to take advantage of those vice captaincy scores if you get a nice one. With James Leake, he's got that round 2 bye. I can actually use him as a loophole, not playing in round 2. He'll be the only player with this current team that actually has that bye. It's the same with a couple of other players as well. And actually a big reason why I've selected him, because I do want to have that option to lock in a VC score. And again, I'll need to look at different fixtures along the way, but I think by having a couple of early buy players, or at least one from each side, or a side that does have an early buy, I think that can allow me to then, instead of running with a loophole, actually put a player in that spot that's going to generate some cash for me. So that's probably the strategy I'm going with there. Lots of other players down back I'm half interested in. And again, there's some easy structural changes here. You can see maybe a Bo Allen can just go down back if I want to flip anything there, if I'm confident enough in our defensive rookies, because I think we've got a few up our sleeves anyway. Onto the midfield now. Bontempelli, the Bont, he's just not going to move. I've selected this bloke for the last, I don't know how many years, and he just simply doesn't let you down. He won't go under 600K. Well, I'm not going to guarantee it this year, but he rarely ever goes under 600K. You can lock him in as that perma VC captain. Again, no discussion needed here. I'm just super confident on the Bont. Again, going to be, I think, the top scorer, if not top 3 in the game this year. Brayshaw is a bloke that I think I've had all preseason. I just think that there's a lot of meat on the bone here. He's the bloke that can play inside and outside. It's a contract year. I don't think he's going to be the one that cops all the attention. I think they'll most likely go to Caleb Serong there. He doesn't necessarily need CBAs to score well. We know that he had an injury interrupted start to last year. I think for around the first 6 weeks, he was really hampered. But when he regained full fitness, he really started to play well, and his average started to reflect that. So I really like his buy. At this stage, I don't see him moving unless we hear that maybe Serong is just playing so well or looking so good that we have to have him in our sides. But Brayshaw's the one I really like. Now, this bloke I am super excited about. If you followed me for the last few years, I'm not the sort of person that goes with an ultra pod. But one thing that I really wanted to do this year was find a player that no other content creator was on. And this is my man. No one's on him. And people may think that I'm a little bit crazy. Now, I don't want to sell you this pick. Please do not let me sell you Ed Richards. To be honest, I prefer if he stayed a pod. But I have talked a lot about him already in the preseason. The issue is it hasn't been on my own channel. So I did a video with Swizz. I also did a pretty in-depth video with Pig from Dr. Supercoach, absolute legend. Shout out to those two. In the preseason chats that I've had in the group chats, I've been really spruiking this pick, and a lot of it's due to also speaking with my man Matty Lyons from the Inside the Kennel podcast. I've done a heap of research into numbers here. I've done a huge write-up for my channel members as well. So I'm not going to go into really super in-depth numbers here. Although, to be honest, I know most of them off the top of my head because I don't think that Pig's video is actually out yet. And I obviously want to give a little bit of an advantage to those members that have signed up to the channel, as well as those that have pre-ordered the season guide. But in a nutshell, and this has a lot to do with his role and my own predictions about him, but I think there is a good chance that Ed Richards can be the number 2 cog in that midfield. I think without a doubt, it's going to be the Bont. Now, the issue here with predicting who's going to be the number 2 cog in that Bulldogs midfield is the fact that you've got so many other blokes that can put their hand up for that position. Look at Adam Treloar, look at your Libba. We've got other blokes, younger blokes coming through like your Rolly Sanders. So it's not an easy prediction to make, but I'm going with Matty here. He reckons he's going to be number 2. So basically last year, their hand was forced. Libba went out of the side and they needed someone to just step into that role just for the short term anyway. Richards was that man. Now, in his first couple of games, he really didn't set the world on fire. He was new to the role, had never trained there. So I was still pretty impressed with what he was able to produce. He was in there for a couple of weeks. Libba came back just for a week. His CBAs went down to around the 13% mark. Then Libba went out for the next 2. And this bloke went absolutely bang. Now, the first game was against Richmond, where he scored a lovely 163. The next one was a 110 to a 120 type score. And then the game after, he was absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, BOG at halftime, 77 points, and then unfortunately got concussed, and then missed a little bit of time after that. At this point in time, if you look at that 3-week block, or 2.5-week block, if you want to call it that, this bloke was absolutely on fire. He was becoming much more confident in the role, and he was going to the moon. Now, that time off, that obviously delayed that, and he had a pretty solid end to the season without being absolutely fantastic. But this is why it's great to have the best of the best on the channel. And let me tell you, Matty Lyons is the best when it comes to the Dogs. Now, he gave me some really nice info that the Bulldogs have actually been training for a potential Ed Richards tag. How is that? So what they've been doing is playing train on player Dom Brew. Hope he gets a spot. Not sure with Crossley coming on now with potential question marks about Tim English, but Dom Brew has been wearing him like an absolute glove during match sims because they're expecting, or I would infer that they're expecting Richards to have such a good season that opposition teams are going to look to shut him down. So what they're doing at the moment is playing a tight tag with Brew on him, and they're training up his teammates on the best ways to support Richards by blocking, for example. How's the best way to ensure that Richards gets a little bit of extra freedom in that midfield so that we can get the ball in his hands, because he's so damaging and he gives such a different look to that Bulldogs midfield. He's coming into his prime. He's now actually learnt how to play that role, had a full preseason training there, and he has not been training anywhere else. He has been in the CBAs, in the guts for basically every match sim during the preseason. He's looking fit. As I said, he's coming into that age. More time in the gym in the preseason. He'll build up his contested game. Lovely raking left foot. So I think the sky is the absolute limit for Richards. And what I love about him, and this last time I checked, he's only currently owned by 1.1% of coaches. Now, the issue for lots of teams with selecting Richards is going to be that tricky buy, because it's a round 12 buy. So many popular teams. You've got the Dogs, you've got Carlton, you've got Port, and you've got North Melbourne. Very, very popular teams. And you could almost give 20 names that you'd have on your watch list just between those 4 sides. So you will notice in my team here that I maybe haven't gone with a couple of other players that lots of other people have, because I'm trying to not damage myself too much on that buy. Now, another thing, just quickly talking about the buy, and I will look at my structure in a little bit, is how realistic is it going to be that every player that you start with from that buy, you're actually going to have up until round 12. I don't think that it's going to be too realistic unless the Supercoach gods are really, really looking after you. I'm thinking injuries. I could be thinking even form, and we want to sideways a player or trade them out. They're just not doing it for us. A lot of different circumstances where we may not necessarily be holding these players for as long as we think or as long as we want to. So that's another thing just to keep in mind there. But Richards, the downside is that he doesn't get as much CBA time as I'm thinking, and someone like a Libba really is that obvious second cog. But really, I think, and Bevo doesn't necessarily always look after us, but I think that surely they need to look to the next gen now. Surely they need to look to the next gen. You've got Libba 30 plus, Treloar 30 plus. Treloar's already injured at the moment, had basically no preseason. Libba, concussion issues last year. They've got to manage the man, don't they? In saying that, when Libba plays, really that's the only spot, isn't it? I think they've trialled him as a small forward a couple of years ago before he had a massive season in average. But I really can't see him playing anywhere else. How many games is Libba going to play this year? Again, I can't predict that. So there are some red flags here with Richards, but the upside I see is phenomenal with this pick. I think he could be a really nice and solid M8 option for us for the remainder of the season. So I'm going with him at this stage, but again, don't let me sell you. There is some risk attached to this, but again, just no one else has got him. No one else is talking about him. Actually, maybe people are, now that Treloar has gone down or become even worse than what he was in the preseason. So I hope not in a way, but yeah, I'm a massive fan of him, and I know I'm the only one on board when it comes to some of the main content creators, but that's fine with me. You know, he's going to be, I know Abs always has a weapon, for example, each year. He's going to be my version of that this year, Eddie Richards. So much more to discuss and dissect with that pick. Some really, really in-depth numbers, but that's what I'll say for now. Hopefully that's giving you a little bit of info anyway. Clary, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on. I'll give you a bit of a sneak peek into our preseason/season guide. I have Oliver, I'll say at least at the moment, I won't give you my exact ranking, in the top 10 averaging midfielders for 2025. I think that this bloke is going to go bang. He came back to training early with the first to fourth year players, looking in ripping condition at the moment. And I tell you what, if everything goes right off the field, if he gets a little bit more stability, I think, to his life, really hone in on being a professional and living like a professional, then I don't see why he can't get back to those major heights. And even if he doesn't get right back to his absolute best, even if it's anything close to that, he's going to be a fantastic selection. Has the potential to be the highest scorer in the game. So Oliver, absolute lock for me. I've got high hopes, maybe higher than other people. Peatling's another guy who I've had in the side for at least the last, I'd say, 6 weeks. I'm such a huge fan of his potential. So much meat in the bone. There's been a lot of talk about Peatling in amongst different content creators and just the basic public. And what's the upside to him? Well, if you look at those sub games, compare his sub average compared to season average without the subs, I reckon there's about 30 points meat on the bone here. Preseason training reports have him playing inside the guts. Is he going to be that second, third cog? I'm really not too sure, but we'll really have to watch out for that. It's a little bit the same as Richards. We don't know his exact role, but I'm predicting, yeah, some pretty solid things for Peatling. Not keeper material, but if you can get up to that 500 mark even, a fantastic stepping stone. He's going to make money for us as well as give us some really nice on-field scores, which is good. Something else with Richards as well is if you look at the midfield averages for the Bulldogs historically, since 2019, they have had at least 3 mids go 100 plus. In, I think, more than half of those years have had 4 mids go 100 plus. And if you're talking about the top 2, we're talking really, really nice 100 plus averages. So that's another thing historically that I think can work in Richards' favour if he's that second cog. And then we really get to the rookies here. So what I've done is I've gone with your absolute uber premiums at captain option with the Bond. Sorry, didn't mean to actually click on him. You've gone with Brayshaw, I think can be a really nice premium option. Don't forget, he was the MVP a couple of years ago. And I think he can be, without a doubt, in the top 10 mids for averages this year. Then you've gone for Richards as that real uber breakout contender. And I'm hoping that's going to be the case. Oliver is at real fall and premium, so that's sort of the big four there. Then you've gone with the mid-pricer in Peatling. I won't go all through my watch list, but so many other players that have rolled through here as well. Not necessarily in place of these players, but probably that extra spot down here, or someone just in front of Peatling or Oliver. But gone with 3 rookies on field here. At the moment, it's Jagger Smith. I think he's basically a lock, someone that you don't have to talk too much about. Sardis is an interesting one. Another rookie with that early buy, and that plays another big part in this selection as well. He's looking like an absolute beast, and some Essendon supporters that I really respect. I really respect their opinion. Blokes like H, Joey, JG, and JG, thank you very much. Much love, brother, for that lovely message you sent me the other day. Absolute legend. Check out all of JG's stuff as well. Lovely, lovely fella. Great knowledge on Essendon. They're really keen on him. Obviously, an early pick. There's been question marks on things like disposal, consistency, but he's been doing everything he can in the preseason to put his best foot forward. And I think he's got the potential to have a huge impact this year and make some really nice coin for us and be a nice on-field option. Lots of other players could assume this position, but for now, it is Sardis for me. Bo Allen, that big-bodied mid from West Coast, slid down the order, so I think actually provides some really nice value here. Lots of people will be playing him on field in your defensive line, and you certainly could do that. But just with my structure, I'd really like to have that defensive mid in my midfield, and that way you've got blokes like your Travaglia there, you've got Sinclair as well, that I can always swap if I need to. I've also got Ben Patton there, as I mentioned, as that defensive or forward option. So I think that's nice, pretty much to a lock, I think, at this stage, Alan. Now, Sheldrick's one of these guys, again, pretty nice preseason reports. Where does he fit? There is so much competition in that midfield. We've got, Mills coming back into the fold this year. I know that Parker's gone out, so potentially some minutes there, but Warner, Goulden, Rowbottom, there are so many other players that can go through there. So Sheldrick is just there for now as that high price option. You can always go down to Moraes and Erasmus and Alhuli if you really want to there. Nevitt, another one who I've heard pretty good reports about. I suppose these two give me sub vibes for some reason, particularly Nevitt, but he's been playing really well in the midfield in match sims, and hopefully he can be a player that can lock down a best 22 spot, some really nice Resi's reserve averages as well. So Nevitt's there for now, and again, a little bit of a higher price, not as high as your Ed Allens, your Smileys, and these types, but still high enough for you to be able to go down if you need. We've still got some nice options, I think, around the 119k mark, let's just say. And then Tom Gross. So again, someone I've just been hearing some good preseason reports about. Far from lock for best 22, but look, spots are vacant. We know they're a young side. Again, they'll struggle this year. So I think they'll give every opportunity for blokes that are putting their hand up in the preseason to get an early start. And I'm hoping at 113k that he can be one of these selections for us. Into the rucks now. Sherry has not left my side, and I'm not going to go through all the numbers. We went into that with Big J, and I've talked a lot about him. An absolute lock, almost a non-negotiable for me in your rucks this year. Not the best buy, but hey, you look at lots of rucks, and I'll talk about in a sec, that don't have the best buy as well. We've got Boyd. I think he's pretty much a lock there for us at the moment. You'll notice that I don't have a loophole there. I am expecting Boyd to play. Max Heath, I think, played really well, though, and I'm losing a little bit of confidence in Boyd, but I'm hoping that he can really put his best foot forward and, excuse me, with question marks on Marshall, hopefully take up that number 1 role, but he probably has a little bit more competition than what I was expecting there. But yeah, not a lot to talk about now. We'll just have to wait and see how he goes in the preseason. This is a big one here. Maxi Gawn. I hate the price. I hate the age. I love the confidence in what his role is. I love the confidence in his historical average. I really like his buy. And unlike blokes like your Shrek, your TDK, and blokes that I like, don't get me wrong, we know what he is going to produce. Now, will there be a decline? Probably at his age. You've almost got to expect that, don't you? It's saying that he's one of the best rucks that we've ever had grace in AFL field. It's as simple as that. The man is a machine. So a lot of it, as I said, does come down to the question marks I've got. In saying that, the good thing about having gone here at the moment at this price is that he allows me to go down to a Shrek, down to a TDK, and then potentially even change some structure. I can bring in some of these high price rookies if I need to. So I'm talking about the Sid Drapers of the world, the Ed Allens, a couple of guys that I mentioned before. We all know who these popular rookies are by now at just say your 150, your Langfords to 200, even your Xavier Lindsay, so many players that you could reel off there. So it does give them the option to do that. And I'll get to my flex in a sec. And I'm going to start in the flex either way. It would probably be someone like a Sheldrick that's upgraded, but you then get 145k, 100 odd K in the bank. So Gawn is a very, very fluid selection at the moment, but just by having him there, it gives you easy options in order to go down. Conning has so much upside. If I'm really confident on him by round 1, then I could make the change. But again, I'm adding another round 12 buy player into my side, and that makes things really, really tough for me. So we'll see what happens there. Gone at the moment. Now into the forward line. Now, Horn Francis, I haven't actually been running with, but reports have been suggesting that he is absolutely flying in the preseason, and they're looking for him to be a full-time midfielder. I don't think he's going to be full-time. I think he's still going to spend a little bit of time up forward, but he's really, really hard to go past. There's another bloke from Adelaide, so from South Australia as well, in Isaac Rankin, who has been here. But the more that I think about it, I think it could be a bit of a dangerous anti-pod. When I spoke to Swizz last, he was a bloke that I was actually anti-podding. Very popular pick. Lots of the comp are on him. I'm going to have JB on from Dr. Supercoach, a great man. So I'm going to talk about the Horn Francis pick a little bit more with him. And I think, to be honest, I'm going to base a lot of my decision on that at the end of the day, because I respect his opinion so much, particularly on a Port Adelaide player. But I think it can be a bit of a dangerous anti-pod. But he's someone I would love to anti-pod. So we'll talk about some of the other options in a little bit. Jack Macrae, I think, is an absolute lock at this stage. Again, historically, just one of the Supercoach kings in the Hall of Fame already. Philippou has gone down, which I just think increases his upside even more. Now, there's a lot of questions about, did he get bevoed last year, or was it a bit of natural regression? I think it's a bit of both. What percentage do you put that 50-50 bevo, 50-50 natural regression? I'm not too sure. But for me, he still has enough in him to average enough to be in the top 6. And I say at a minimum, F6. I think he could push a lot higher than that. I'm not losing faith in Jack Macrae. I think St Kilda recruited him for a reason, and he will spend a lot of time in the midfield. He's an absolute ball magnet. And hey, he's lost a yard of pace. We know that, but you don't need to be the quickest player in the comp if you've got that spatial awareness, knowledge of the game, those elite skills, quick hands, quick on the foot. And Jack Macrae does all of that. So I'm really happy with Macrae. Smith, now, I'd love not to start him as well. I'd love to anti-pod Bailey Smith. There's been a little bit of concern, I think, around injury. So, look, if he doesn't have the best preseason, then I may not actually run with him. But I just think he's got the talent and hopefully the opportunity as a full-time inside mid to have a career best year. Mentally, he should be a lot happier now, and I think I've already mentioned that before. But in that Geelong midfield, I'm not overly confident. So someone that could really assume this position could be Luke Parker. You could get a Parker instead of a Horn Francis. Rolly Sanders is the other bloke who was in my side probably 2 days ago, and I'm still pretty keen on him. It's just the round 12 buy. So Smith, could move. I don't think he's an absolute lock. Caleb Daniel is a lock. We're not going to talk too much about him. Just get him in your side. If you don't, I don't think you're serious about playing Supercoach. The ultimate role, we know historically what players have been able to average in that defensive role for North Melbourne. He'll take a lot of the kick-ins. Just lock him. Tom Lynch, now a key forward. We don't like key forwards, but what we do like is a high ceiling and the potential to get a nice bag. That's all we really need from Tom Lynch early to really send his score going up the charts, as well as, and this is most importantly, his price. So I'm hoping for a couple of early bags. Now, Richmond are not going to travel that well this year, we wouldn't assume, but that doesn't mean that you can get a player kicking a nice bag of goals. We've seen that for lots of lower ranked sides. So yeah, durability certainly isn't on his side, but if we can get him for the first 7 or 8 weeks, even potentially less than that, I think this can work out well. Again, there could be lots of players that you have here. It could be a Kako, for example. It could be a Jack Martin if you're keener. You could be going a little bit more like George for a Marek type. Lots of other potential options, but Lynch is there for now at 180k. He's rookie priced, so I think he's hard to go past. Elijah Hewitt, now, again, struggled with injury. We've noticed that there's a few durability issues with players in my side, but I don't think I'm really paying up a lot for players that do have durability issues. It's more those mid-price to rookie type options for me, so I can really live with that. But another player that was an early pick, a highly rated player at West Coast, and I think he's going to get his opportunity again now that he's fit, and he has been spending time in the midfield and really impressing. So all the preseason reports and track notes have indicated that he's going to be in the best 22, and hopefully we'll see some CBA time. But even not, he's going to score well enough, I assume, at the price to be a really nice selection. Berry is almost locking down a spot in the best 22 at the moment. A really dangerous small to high half forward. Will come up the grounds a little bit, you'd assume, maybe impact some stoppages. So I think at 140 to 150k, he doesn't necessarily have the best role in the world, but I think he can play the role well enough to earn us enough cash to be a decent rookie. And I think his job security is going to be really high as well. And Davidson, I see him getting a lot of early games. Matty is huge on him, says he's close to a lock to start the season. We're looking for him to be on a wing at this stage. When I say we are looking, it seems like that's where he's going to play. Again, competition for spots there, but a very tall type player, has spent a lot of time forward. I think it was for Werribee, but they're looking for him to fill that wing role potentially. So I really do like that. And then we get onto our flex, and of course I'm starting him. It's Levi Ashcroft at the moment. Pretty much a non-negotiable rookie. Now, will he probably start off the bench or play off the bench? I think so. A very tough team to break into. But keep in mind, I did a bit of a write-up on Levi's role, massive one on Will. And if you read that, you can see why I'm not starting him at this stage, although every fibre in me wants to. But with Levi, look, against mature bodies, in his only VFL appearance last year, the bloke picked up a lazy 35 touches. BOG by a mile, kicked a goal as well, tackles, clearances. There is no issues about this bloke playing against mature bodies. And at the same stage, there's many people that say that have followed both boys a lot closer than I did in their junior days, that he's more advanced than Will at the moment. And if we're being honest with ourselves, he's the best player in the draft, in this draft crop, without a doubt, in my opinion. So maybe a little bit biased, but yeah, Levi's in that flex position. So what are we going to talk about now? We might talk about buy structure. So for anyone that's got Supercoach Gold, this is a really easy way to check out your structure. So we can see with the early buys, the only player we've got, and Ashcroft obviously doesn't have it either, might actually go... Sorry, yeah, I know that this may be very hard to see for you, but hopefully you'll be able to see how many plays are blanked out. So for the first buy in round 2, I'll have James Leake at this stage, who's unavailable. Perfect. Use him as a loop. No issues whatsoever there. The next buy, in round 3, this is potentially a bit of a tricky one for lots of teams, but I'll have Mills missing along with Patton. Lee can hopefully come on there. I'll still have a full complement in my midfield with an extra full complement of rucks, Baz down, Berry or Davidson come on, and then you've obviously got Ashcroft not in the flex. That's easy. You just move him and get another player down there and hopefully bring Ross on field. So I'm okay for that buy. And if you look at premium players, well, there's no real premiums. You've got a couple of mid prices there in Mills and Smith. I've just got Ashcroft as a nice rookie and all the rest are bench options. So I'm pretty safe there. Then you look for round 4 and you just see Elijah Sardis. So again, he's going to act as my loop for the week. So from rounds 2 to 4, 3 rounds there, I'm going to have a loop, which is really, really important. I'm assuming, not necessarily hoping, by round 5, we've got natural loops in the side for rookies that are missing. injured players, etc., etc. So that's what I'm planning, and that's a big reason why I'm not starting a loop. If we go to the tricky buy in round 12, we can see that we've got obviously Sheasel, Bont, Richards, Sherry, Horn, Francis, and Daniel as what I'm going to call my keeper options. So that gives me 6 on the buy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Smith, I'm assuming by then. Well, the plan hopefully will be to keep him up until that buy and then just flip him, make an upgrade to a player with a more friendly buy, whether it be the week after, a couple of weeks, 3 weeks. We don't know at the moment, but that's probably the plan now. I'm not counting Jagger with that. This is when it makes it a little bit more difficult to go for a Gawn down to a DeConning. And even if you went down from a Horn Francis to a Parker, I just don't think that I can be running with 7. I think that 6 may even be pushing it slightly. Now, lock for me, lock for me, lock for me, lock for me. Horn Francis is probably the man. So what I could potentially do, if I wanted to be even safer here, is go down from a Horn Francis to an Isaac Rankin. And then if Horn Francis is just playing out of his skin, playing that well, I'm happy just to maybe get him in and just take a bit of a hit during that buy. So that's a potential option for me. The other blokes like your Parkers, for example, your Rolly Sanders, you could go instead of a Horn Francis, unfortunately do have this buy as well. So that's what's making it really tricky. It's saying that, and I did mention this as well, how many of these players will realistically be there? Injury, suspension, who knows? I'm really not too sure, but that's a tricky one. I've seen some people go way, way overboard. So I think 6 max. You got to remember, we've got best 18. By now, I'll have close, or I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I'll have close to a completed side. So I don't think that 6 is going to hurt as much. I've had a lot more in previous seasons, still managed to get 18, and I've been pretty safe. So all good for that buy. Now we go to round 13. So this is what we call the good buy here. So we can see that we've obviously got the 2 premiums. Hopefully, Travaglia will be gone by then. We've got just the one in the midfield. That's okay. Just the one up forward. So all good. They'll be covering all the other buys, which is nice and handy. Round 14. So you've got Mills. Not much going on there. Smith is a rookie. Patton is a rookie. Sheldrick as a rookie. And Tom Lynch will hopefully be upgraded by then as well. And then we'll go to 15. You can see that we have Oliver missing. Peatling, he's just a stepping stone. No worries there. You've got Gawn in the ruck. All good. That's all sweet. And you've got Hewitt, who's another rookie option there. And then we go to the last buy, which is obviously 16. And we just see Bailey Smith gone. Ashcroft probably gone by then. Leake, yeah, just a bunch of rookies. So if I did go with, just say, Horn Francis to Rankin, I think that would be a lot better for my buy structure. But at the moment, I think that 6 max is probably where I'm looking to go there. So I think that's pretty much all I've got to say with the side for now. What haven't I talked about? I suppose captain options. Well, the main 3, in my opinion, at the moment, you've got your Bont, you've got your Gawn, and your Sherry. Look, flex position, maybe a bit of talk there. I don't like the 3 primo ruck setup. And the issue is that I want to be able to go shopping with my flex position. I don't want to necessarily put a primo there because I'm not that confident on who the best 3 rucks are going to be. Now, if by the start of the season I think to myself, for example, that I'm really confident on DeConning, Gawn is flying, Sherry smashing out of the park and is non-negotiable basically for me anyway, then hey, I may change up a little bit of the structure there. You could get an extra rookie like a Kako, for example, in your forward line. Horn Francis then goes to a DeConning in your flex. Ashcroft goes to the midfield, all that sort of stuff. You could look to do that, but I'm not a huge fan at the moment. Flynn has also been here, and then that's a pretty easy one. So gone to someone like a Shrek if he's actually looking good. A lot of conjecture about if he's actually going to be fit, if this was, if he was actually traveling well before he went overseas, or well, I'm not too sure. A few question marks over Shrek, but he could be fine at the moment. I'll have to ask Damo to confirm that for us. So you could go with Shrek there. Yeah, who knows? There's so much water to go under the bridge, and you hear me say that a lot. and these type of videos. So the flex for me at the moment is just going to be Ashcroft. Why don't we actually play a little bit with the side? Actually, before I do that, let's quickly go to the watch list. So I don't know. So there we are. So I suppose just very quickly, and I'm not going to go into any depth here, just to let you know who else is on the watch list here. You've got Butters, and this is by price, I believe. You've got Butters, Flanders, Nick Dacos. Dacos, yeah, until that foot injury, I actually had him in the side there. Butters, I'm a huge fan of. Flanders, I just think is too expensive at the moment. Again, early buy. Luke Ryan, Caleb Sarong, love those options as well. Could feature. Lockie Whitfield, would love to be able to select him. Don't love the buy though, same as Tom Green. Nick Martin, I think, is going to be in the top 8 for averages by the end of the season. Rory Laird's a really interesting one. We know that he can score really consistently down back, so could it be a super pod move to actually start in midfield like you did maybe with your Martin last year, although we are paying a lot more than what we did for Martin, and then just move him into your back line? You could look to do that. You've got Conning there, obviously, in the ruck. Max Holmes is that real breakout contender. Big fan of Holmes, actually. We'll see how he goes. I'm just not confident to start him at the moment. Shrek Darcy, Rankin, who could easily come into my side. Will Day has been in for a fair bit during the preseason. McKercher, Rivers as that pod option. I think he's got a bit of upside, particularly if there's question marks on Petrarca. Maybe spends a bit more time forward. He can be that second cog if he gets in front of Viney, but I'm not too sure he will be able to. Shearer is that other mid-price option. There's so many of them. Short, down back, I see a bit of upside, but I just don't know if he's got keeper status. He's tricked me a lot in the past. Will Ashcroft, talked a lot about him already. Sam de Koning, now training in the ruck with Conway injured at the moment. It's a ruck merry-go-round. There's a muck down there for the rucks at Geelong. It's the same every season, so yeah, not too confident. Parker is one I'm getting keener on by the day, and I'm really looking for a way to get him in. Sanders as well, big fan of him. Schoenmaker, I think, could be a relatively decent option for us this year. Make a little bit of coin. Kitty just isn't looking too great for round 0 at the moment. Round 1, potentially, who knows. But Danny Daly was a lot more confident on him a month or two ago. So not too sure at the moment on Kitty. Jack Silvani, there's been a little bit of talk about him as that intercepting defender. Who knows there. Hugo Garcia, are there more minutes available now for him? With Mateus going down, Josh Sin is a really interesting one. Just don't like the buy, but in saying that, you'll probably upgrade him by then. We'll see what's happening with Farrell, but Sin is someone who has been in my side as well. You could go Clark down or Sin, for example, if you wanted to. Marek has already mentioned. George is very keen on him. Just on the watch list for me, George is man, but hey, if the great man's onto him, then he's certainly going to be on my watch list as well. Shout out to you, George, as well. George will be on for an Adelaide podcast. Peatling, all the rest, that'll be great. Dawson could be an interesting selection. And then we get into the rookies, and we've got the higher price ones with your Laylaw O'Sullivan, Alan Draper, Power Pepper Langford, Smiley. Henry Smith, is he someone that can get ruck forward status? He could potentially be the man that's going to fill that void left by Joey Danaher, and massive shoes to fill. Won't do the job near as well, but I think he could be an option potentially over Sam Day in the Brisbane Best 22-23. Curtin, Lindsay, Jack Martin. Not a huge fan of Martin, but at the price, who knows? Kako is definitely one I'm keen on. Ryan Gardner's an interesting one. Now, before English actually went down with injury, Gardner was the one that was actually spending that time as that chop-out ruck, opposed to Sam Darcy, who was spending all his time up forward. Norton has been tracking too well. Jamara, massive question marks on him, so it could be a pod selection just to look out for. Keep on your watch list. Reedy, if Shrek doesn't come up, who knows? Cleary, I'm pretty keen on. Got a little bit of experience last year for Sydney. Ashton Moore and Billy Wilson. Sard, not as keen on, but hey, who knows? If he plays round 1, I'll probably jump on him, or round 0, whatever it is. Reid, just so injury prone. Erasmus, good reports about him, but so much competition for midfield there. Connor Stone could get a gig there at GWS. If I don't go with Leak, could go with Stone, but I really want a GWS or a Suns player. I think there might have been a 99k rookie added actually to the Suns recently. A couple of Connor O'Sullivan as a Geelong rookie. Heard good reports about him. Max Hall and Max Heath from the Saners. Buslinger, not as keen on him after speak with Matty Lyons. Bit of competition down there with, who was it? Maybe an O'Donnell, I think, and someone else from memory. Cody Anderson, a bit of a tackling beast, I think. Nice player. Urquhart, Big J said to keep an eye on. Should have Hardeman here on the watch list as well. Reyes, Luke Trainer, Riley Bias, but again, I think Patton may be slightly in front. Harry Boyd there, who I've got on the side, and Matty Kennedy. Now, I'm probably missing a fair few players there on the watch list, but that just gives you a bit of an idea about who else has been in my side, and I'm considering for the side anyway. Now, let's talk about, I don't know how long the video's gone for if you're even interested in this, but let's see what we can do here. So some really quick trades could be, and again, by structure, maybe a little bit out here, but if I am keen on a DeConning, where is DeConning? Sorry, my computer's having a bit of a hissy fit here. There he is. So if I just go going down to DeConning, it's 125k I've got in the bank. And I can do so much with that. All of a sudden, Clark is easily up to a Ryan there. Now, the flex position, if you're not keen on a Sheldrick and you are keen on someone like a Flynn, then you just get rid of your Sheldrick, and all of a sudden you've got Flynn there with a little bit of extra cash left, I believe. We have 24k, so not the most there. Then if you're worried about that buy structure now by getting DeConning in, then you can always go, okay, well, I will actually have some big kahunas and anti-prod due and go my man Isaac in that spot. So that sort of covers that buy. Again, if you're still worried about the buy and you want to move that, you could go to your Shrek and your Sean Darcy. He comes in to that spot there. You could go with your 4 ruck setup, but I'm obviously not going with a premium here. If Rankin wants to come down, then all of a sudden you could get your Luke Parker in, because again, you've fixed up that buy structure now with Darcy, which is fine. And now you've got even more money to play with there, 235k. That brings in, a mid-pricer potentially as a midfielder. So what have I got there? 497. Have I got enough for Will Day? Yeah, I have. So all of a sudden you've got Will Day there in your midfield. There is so much that you can actually do here. Clark could come out. You could go a cheaper option there. So I could go Clark to, who knows, a Sin. Oop, Clark out, sorry. Oh, now my computer is having a hissy fit. Sorry, there we go. So you could go a Clark out to Sin. You've now got 340k in the bank there. Sardis isn't looking that good. He comes out. You got 531 there. You can get your Chera in if you really want to. Downgrade another rookie and get an Uber premium in, whether or not that's a Sarong, that's a Butters if you want to go there. If track's looking really, really good, you can potentially do that. There are so many different things that I can do with my side. So again, what I would really encourage you to do is play around with different structures, different rookies, your mid prices, your premiums, your buy structures as well. Screenshot the side. There's that really easy screenshot feature this year, and then keep a track of it. So what was it looking like a month or two ago, a couple of weeks ago? Who have been those players that have consistently been in my side? The ones that I've done all the preseason research on, I'm really confident on, I'm really keen on. So when it comes to those preseason games, they maybe put out a stinker in the first one. You say, oh, I can't start them now. Go back to that and go, no, do you know what? I'm going to back my gut here, back my research. I'm not going to jump at shadows. Have a plan A, B, C, and D, just in case an important player to your structure goes down. For me, it was Kitty Coleman a couple of years ago. Kitty can still enter this side. With Gawn going down, for example, you go a pattern up. That's what I'd really recommend to do. Have some placeholders at a higher price in your side so that you can always go down. So that would be my sort of general advice there. I won't go through any other players, I don't think, at this stage. So if I go back to my team without those changes, that's how I am running at the moment. So Give me some feedback down below, guys. Let me know what you think. For anyone that is interested, again, in purchasing the preseason guide, I will put the link down below, and you'll get all the best info on every one of the players that you can select this year. You've got spreadsheets with numbers, reserve numbers, top scores, low scores, everything that you want there, as well as write-ups from the best content creators in the land for all of these sides. They've got their best premium picks, breakout picks, rookies, everything that you can ask for. So make sure that you jump on board that. Thank you again. Yeah, 80 plus people at the moment, and that's just pre-order. So thank you very much again, guys. If you've got any questions about my selections, why I've done something that maybe I haven't explained and I've forgotten to mention, please let me know down there below in the comment section. I will put every person that puts a comment down below, likes a video, subscribe, all that sort of stuff, into live draw for one of my YouTube leagues. So make sure you like and leave a comment. I'm not someone that asks for subscribers or the rest. If you want it, cool. If you don't, that's all good as well. Just appreciate you tuning in, and thanks again for your support. So yeah, take care, guys. You've now got a lot to look forward to after this team upload, after this team preview. You've got all of the other 16 team previews with, again, the best content creators you can get. We'll be starting up our preseason podcast as well with the Swordplay crew, player profiles. Janath, Spills, and Roscoe will all give team updates as well. So anything else you want to see, let me know. But apart from that, guys, hope that you are well. Much love, and I'll see you soon in the next one. Cheers. Bye.